Welcome into this week's edition of the Hook'em Hoops podcast, brought to you by the Field of 68 and BetMGM. I'm Jason Kinander. That's Zach Davis. No Tommy Yarge tonight. We got some Longhorns basketball to talk about, Zach. A whole lot of winning has been happening on the 40 acres lately. Sean Miller and the guys have seemed to have figured this out. They're off the bubble safely in the NCAA tournament picture. Your thoughts in the last few weeks?
It's been a fun couple weeks. It's nice seeing some wins. I think this is the longest win streak since 2021 in conference.
Yeah.
I think they put that on the game against LSU. But yeah, I mean this team's coming together. The best part of the night was without Dalen Swain. It was Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope who
Sure.
popped out. That's what this team is. It's a lot of firepower. Now defense is obviously the what's gonna hurt this team, I think, in March if they can't get it fixed. But it doesn't distract you from five straight wins in SEC play. Like you said, Jason, safely off the bubble. I think Bracket Matrix has them averaging like a 10.8 right now, which still feels kind of high, but with this tough stretch coming up that we're gonna talk about, I mean, they have put themselves in the best position possible.
Yeah, I see them more on the 8-9 line right now. I think
Yeah,
that they have good enough
I do too.
wins in conference play. That like the most important thing is they don't have a bad loss. Not before not before conference play, not during conference play. Like every team that they've lost to has been a pretty solid,
Yeah,
excusable as losses come, excusable loss. With that said, this team has an absolute murderer's row coming up. Georgia on the road on Saturday. Florida at home on Wednesday, Texas A&M on the road that following Saturday, and then Arkansas on the road that following Wednesday. I mean, that is a really difficult four-game stretch. But when you look at it and you think, hey, if Texas can split those four games, they're still going to climb up the tournament seeding. They're still going to be feeling good about themselves. It's hard not to feel good about the way the schedule shakes itself out, especially with how the Longhorns have looked.
yeah. No, I mean we're coming into the Longhorns are coming into it with the hottest streak, but I worry that I feel like whenever this team gets an ego, they collapse a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
so I think two games would be ideal. I think one game out of these four and then beating OU is it's safe to say that they're probably safely in.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't even like. I mean, if they lose that game to OU, that's something where if they go 1-3 out of these next four games, which is very possible. I mean, these are all quad one games. If they go 1-4 in those games, or 1-3, excuse me, and then drop the Oklahoma game, they're probably right near the cut line, probably right where they were last year going into the
Yeah.
SEC tournament, below the cut line, needing a win or two. So, yeah, you're right. It is important that they win these games. But man, I feel really good about what I've seen out of this group. I think that they finally have their identity. They're going to play through Dalen Swain a lot. But as the season has went on, Modest Vokatitis has been a whole lot more playable in the big moments, both on defense and on offense. He's a lot less mistake prone. He plays a lot more physical, and he's just a lot more assured in the decisions that he makes on the court. He seems to be using his big frame to his advantage way more than we ever saw in non-conference play. And man, for me, that's a game changer for Texas because he's only going to come off the court for 8 to 10 minutes a game. Then you're only asking Lassina Traore when he gets healthy and Nick Cody right now to fill a very small gap. That's a huge advantage for Texas.
I feel like ever since Sean talked about the tennis balls in the air, like we've seen a different Matas Vokatitis. Like in the beginning of the year, I felt like he was very linear with his decision making.
Sure.
It was very like catch the ball and drive or catch the ball and pass out. And now I feel like he's way more versatile. He's exactly what you need him to be. Like he can pretty much get a bucket at will against any center in the SEC down low. And he also can pass out. He's been passing out. He's been great. I mean, he's been the joke with my friends here at school that he's a really tough watch. But I mean, these past couple of weeks, like this win streak, like when Matas Vokatitis is not in foul trouble and he can stay on the court, he can play 30 minutes and he's being productive and he's a positive plus minus, like Texas is a tough team to beat.
Yeah.
I think he's very underrated good at defense. Very
Yeah.
underrated good at defense. I think he's a force to be reckoned with down low. He gets any center in foul trouble. And I don't know. I really personally was not a fan of him in the beginning of the year, but like ever since like mid-January when they like after the Auburn game, like I feel like he's flipped a switch.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. He's a completely different player these last couple of weeks from a physical standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, and from a decision making standpoint. I mean, he's on the court a whole lot more because he's not in foul trouble every single game. And
Yeah.
that's huge for Texas. It kind of reminds me of 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, crazy, when Dylan DeSue started to really heat up down the stretch of the season. And that just totally took Texas to a different level. They're already one of the better teams in the country, but when you added a multi-dimensional big man who can score at ease when he's really feeling it, it just completely changed the team. And I'm starting to see that with Vokatitis. Maybe won't get the volume that DeSue got down the stretch of that season, but I still think that he means just as much to the team as DeSue did to those Texas teams. Now I want to talk about the guards for a few minutes because those guys have really stepped up down the stretch of the season. The two returnees in Tremont Mark and Kendall Weaver have been excellent during conference play. And then the multi-year transfers, the guys with another year of eligibility left, Cam Heide and Simeon Wilcher, have really elevated their play these last few weeks, both in their shooting and in their defense, and have really looked like additional X factors for Texas. Zach, what do you see their roles being as we get into March Madness these next couple of weeks?
So if you look at the Texas schedule, a lot of the games are close. I think Kendall Weaver legitimately contributes to a 5 to 10 plus margin in the Texas side. I think Texas has won a lot of basketball games, not at the end of the game, but in the middle of it because of Kendall Weaver. He is I mean, we saw this last year. Like he is an athletic freak, and he dives for every loose ball. He reminds me of a Grayson Allen-esque kind of player. Um, besides the shooting part, obviously. But and then
Yeah,
you look at Camden Heide and Simeon Wilcher. Those guys have been shooting the rock terrifically, which and they did not do that well in the first half of the season. So I mean, there's a reason this team is fifth in KenPom right now on offense, and it's a lot because of Camden Heide and Simeon Wilcher. I think Tremont Mark has not been playing terrific over the stretch. But he's is an up and down guy, So, you know, there's so much to talk about with the guards. I think Jordan Pope he's still
yeah.
streaky,
Pope,
but he can
I
also
forgot to mention.
Pope can also get invisible, which is okay when you have Camden Heide and Simeon Wilcher who can hit shots. So, I mean, this team is so versatile on offense. I tweeted this out yesterday or 2 days ago. But if you Texas has a higher offensive rating on KenPom than 5 of the last 9 years. If you put them in like 23, 22, 20, 19, or 17, they would have the most efficient offense in college basketball. So it's
Wow.
yeah, so it's I mean, there's a
Interesting.
reason college to me there's a reason college basketball as a sport is firing right now. And that's because offenses are unbelievable. I think there's 48 teams that are 120 or above in offensive rating, and
Woo.
I think the past from 2019 to 20 or from 2017 to 2025. I don't think that's touched higher than 12. So, but for Texas to be that elite of offense, like they just need to figure out the defense. But the offense, my point is to finish off this tangent, is that the offense is striving because of guys like Wilcher and Heide who are stepping up as like 5, 6, 7 guy roles.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Sim Wilcher's been really good. Camden Heide's been really good. I forgot to mention Jordan Pope. He's been really good at times. You're right. He does disappear, but I think Texas has the personnel to where they can afford for that to happen every other night. Now, when the NCAA tournament comes, you're going to need double digits from Jordan Pope. You're going to need him to come off the bench or in the starting lineup and be that spark plug guy who hits a couple of threes and gets the team back in the ball game or gives you a big advantage in the first half. He's that valuable to the team in that sort of sense. As for these next four games, I want to talk about the next four games because I think that's going to define Texas' season. If they split these four games, they're going to end up probably right on that 8-9 line. If they go 3 out of 4 of these games, they're going to probably end up a 7, maybe a 6 seed if they win a couple of games in Nashville. If they sweep these four games, man, then they're
We're a
going to be
top
back in
15
the
team in
top.
the country. If we win
Yeah,
these next four
they're
games, I'm
firmly.
putting us. If we win these next, if we win out and win 2 games or 1 game in the tournament, just one, because that would put us in the first round. So if we go to the semifinal of the SEC, I think we're looking at a 5, 6 line.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think that I mean, it feels a little foolish to look at the schedule and be like, oh, what if they won out? But the fact of the matter is, like, this team hasn't lost in weeks. They're playing a bunch of winnable games now, albeit against higher competition than they've played the last couple of games. But if there was ever a time for Texas to go on a big run, it'd be right now. They've already won 5 in a row. Why not make it 9 in a row? If they do, then this is a team that is going to thrust itself in the national conversation. We're not quite there yet, but the point is, all their goals are still ahead of them. You know, there are those big resume enhancing opportunities, winnable games while they're playing at their best. It's exciting. What are you expecting out of these next few weeks?
So I think the hardest game on the schedule is at Arkansas, and I think the
Sure.
most winnable game of the season is home against Florida. Of these last four of the four of the last five besides OU. I think this UF game is going to be very fun. Todd Golden's first time ever coming to the Moody Center,
True. Very true.
and it's also the second to last home game of the year. So I don't know. It's students on campus are already talking about it. I think it's going to be super exciting, and I think if Georgia, especially if the Horns can beat Georgia, um, I think that Florida will be like a game that we saw 3 years ago with Chris
Yeah.
Beard. So
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think bottom line you got to win one game just to get off the bubble.
Absolutely.
Got to win one game to get off the bubble, but if you could get two, maybe three, like A&M and Georgia are both games that could really go either way. And then Florida and Arkansas, they're probably 5, 6 point underdogs, but I personally think Florida is going to be a way more fun and winnable game than Arkansas.
I agree. I tend to agree. I think that, I mean, that's big that the students are already talking about that. If we can have like a first year Moody Center atmosphere for that game, like that'll actually make a difference. I was there on the court when Texas beat Gonzaga bad my junior year. The first year of the Moody Center, the place was shaking. It was so loud. Students
Yeah.
lined up more than a day before tip off. It was the only time at a basketball game in my 4 years at Texas where there was that much hype and anticipation. And the crowd really did matter in that game. So I love to hear that because if the students show up and show out and they're loud and they're rowdy, man, it's going to make a difference. And it's just going to be such an important milestone in year one of the Sean Miller era. If they can win that game in front of a huge home crowd, a year where the home crowd has been a big topic of discussion, I think that can really help Sean Miller and these guys win the fans over. Before we head out of here, I'd want to do a little prediction segment. We're going to talk about these next 4 games again. For those of you at home who don't know the Texas schedule off the top of my head, neither do I. I'm going to check right now. The Longhorns play Georgia this weekend, and then they head out to play Florida at home on Wednesday in Austin. That following weekend, they play A&M, and then that following Wednesday, they play Arkansas. So 3 road games: Georgia, A&M, Arkansas. 1 home game, Florida. Zach, how many of those games do Texas win? Does Texas win? Which games does Texas win, and why?
I'm going to say Georgia, Florida, A&M, drop Arkansas. I mean,
Woo!
if there been a better time to come into a tough stretch than right now, I think I think if
Right.
they can beat
That's what I'm
Georgia,
saying.
I think if they can beat Georgia, they're going to be feeling really good about Florida, and they lost to A&M at home, so I think that's going to be a big comeback game for them. I know who's the A&M
Yeah.
kid that used to play at Texas that all of a sudden got good.
Jamie Vincent. He
Yeah,
is a
Jamie Vincent.
completely different player, by the way.
It's kind of frustrating.
It is.
And it's like, um, but yeah, I think A&M is probably matters the most to the three out of the 4 games, just because it's A&M and they lost a bad one to them, and Aggies were like 7-1 in or 7-2 in the SEC, and now they're 7-5. I mean they're playing right now in a close one with Ole Miss, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happened there, but it's a good time to start following hoops, and sports been blowing up, Texas blowing up. Coincidence? I don't think so.
I don't think so either, man. I think that over these next 4 games, I think Texas goes 3-1. I agree with you. I think they dropped the Florida game because Florida has been super good these last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
But
they
I
have been.
think I think that Texas has the coaching and the talent to beat Georgia on the road, beat A&M on the road. and heck, go out and at least play Arkansas competitively, I think that Texas has a solid enough chance to win that game. If they win that game against the Razorbacks on the road, that's a signature win for the Longhorns. So it's exciting that they're hitting this juncture of the season where they're playing well. You don't feel like they've hit their ceiling yet because they haven't played teams where you can really test your ceiling against. That Florida game is going to be the first game in forever where we really can. And then we'll kind of go from there, and it'll be exciting. Texas has already won against one SEC blue blood, so to speak, this year, taking down Alabama. So if they could beat Florida, this is Sean Miller passes his first year on the 40 acres with flying colors in that case. So, that's really all I've got for the rest of today, Sean. I'm excited to keep talking Longhorn basketball as we get towards March, SEC tournament, and then the NCAA tournament. Zach, great talking hoops with you. Anything else?
If this team can figure out their defense, if they can figure out their defensive issues, I'm talking like a Sweet 16 team. Like I'm looking
Yeah,
back,
I agree. I'm
I'm
with
looking
you.
to the second weekend.
I'm
So
with you.
these next four games, I would love to see a lot of defensive prowess because if this team can improve their defense, they're pretty unbeatable to most of the country.
I agree. I agree. And it's important to remember this team has one underclassman that they play. One. That experience really matters down the stretch. We're already seeing it. But if the Longhorns are able to string a few more wins together, get above that 8-9 line, avoid a really messy second round matchup, I agree with you, Zach. I think we could be talking second weekend of the NCAA tournament. All right, great talking hoops. We'll get together again soon for another episode.